Hello everybody, it's Matcast here, and I am casting another game because I have no self-control. We're casting OOOOOOO versus Helmets On. I'm just gonna call him Ooh. I'm not gonna do the full Ooh every time. So I'll be honest with you guys, real quick here. I didn't think I was gonna be able to cast this match. I literally, as of like 3 hours ago, while I was out doing stuff, was informed that I would not need to be busy tonight. So I've had no time to do any kind of research on these teams. I literally just got home 5 minutes ago. Well, not quite 5 minutes ago. I got home like 15 minutes ago. But then I sat in the lobby. I got home 5 minutes before I got in the lobby. So I don't know what's going on with these teams. But it's intermediate division. It's the round of 8 playoffs. So this is the second round of 8 playoffs I'm doing. Who knows? Maybe I'll cast every intermediate division game. But we already got some bans. Lots of support bans coming in. Warlock, Phoenix, Venge, and Oracle. Phoenix, not surprising at all. A very strong hero. I'm guessing the other bans are more targeted. We got a Snapfire. Snap's a hero we've been seeing coming back into the game a lot in a major way recently. I've been seeing a lot more Snap, and I love it. Snap's just feels strong. You know, you can run Snap as a 5, doesn't need items. You can run Snap as a 4, gets items that are useful. It's very flexible. A relatively consistent stun. It's not perfect, but it's very good. For a skill shot stun, it's very reliable. Up there with Jack Hero and his Ice Path. We have a second pick Quap. Unsure if it's going to be the 4 or the 2. The 4 Quap has kind of fallen off, but maybe this team still elects to run it. Helmets. And we have a Tusk. An interesting hero that we haven't really seen a lot of. It's kind of fallen out of favor, you know. I remember back in the old days. I mean, we all remember, what was it? The TI... It must have been the TI8 True Sight, actually. Where they picked the TI8 True Sight, or, you know, the Tusk King. Just doesn't get picked anymore. He has a really good save, though. Good initiation. His Ice Shards. I'm gonna guess it's Ice Shards is the name of that ability. His Q is very good at blocking people off. He's a very strong laner with the tag team. He is pretty good. He has a lot of this utility, but he still doesn't feel very supporty, if that makes any sense. But overall, a solid pick, I think. I'm excited to see what it'll do. So I still think he has that really good save. And into a Snapfire that may be very useful, what with the long form ultimate. Whop! A lot of burst damage. I always love to see it. Again, the 4 Quap has fallen off. But I still think it's alright. I don't think it's bad. But could also be a mid. I think more likely to be a mid, however. We've got some bans too. Anti-Mage. So far, Anti-Mage and Phoenix are really the only traditional bans we've seen so far. The others must be targeted to the teams. A Lone Druid's a very specific ban, so I'm guessing Helmets has a Lone Druid player. Now we get a Spectre ban. That is a very traditional ban. I always have to bring it up when I see it. This late into the game, Sven, still in the pool. Strong hero, very powerful.
5 seconds.
Oh god. Hold on. To update my title. Just realized it says BO, not BO3. No one will notice that because I've updated before the stream went live. We have a Medusa ban. I saw Medusa, 2 days ago. It ended up winning. It looked very strong. Farmed very quickly. I still don't know if Medusa is strictly speaking a good hero, but we got the Medusa out of the pool. But we won't have to worry about it. Now we have the final ban of the second stage. Will it be the Sven? That's how it's pronounced. Seven. Oh. Hopefully, we'll see a ban. And we will! Neither team has to worry about that. Of course, OOOOOOO could have picked it themselves, but elected not to, which is very understandable. So now to swap over and a Clockwork. I'm guessing 3. Not sure how I feel about 3 Clockwork. Feels very underwhelming every time I've seen it. But if they are electing to go down that route, we'll have to see how it works out. A Faceless Void, though, as a counter pickup. That's a pickup that I like. Into the 2 melee cores. Makes it harder for Tusk to save with the Snowball. OOOOOO response with a Windrunner. A very common hero right now. Slacks is trying, but
10 seconds remain.
You know, not awful this game.
5 seconds.
Not bad. The one concern is that Windrun isn't really going to help you into a Chronosphere. Too much. It may be hard for her to find the damage, given that most of Dire so far is very mobile. But, of course, they do have a lot of chain CC. So it's gonna, if they get a drop, or if they get a lead shackle, or a hook shot, they're very much capable of bursting down anyone on the side of Dire. Dire doesn't really have any saves as of yet. Getting into the 4th pick, final pick of the phase for helmets. Likely need to pick up an offlaner, I would imagine. Or potentially a second support. Taking a long time to consider what they wish. Oracle's obviously not in the pool. Luckily, as well, there's no opportunity for a swap, and they'll pick up the Ogre. Okay. So, with that, we can confirm this to be a mid-quap. Almost certainly. I doubt it's a 3 Snap. I doubt it's a 3 Ogre. So we have the mid-quap, which means that now we just need the offlaner.
Seconds.
I do believe.
5 seconds remain.
Now, OOOOOO, very obviously, need their hard carry here. While these bans are going on, just take a second to look. Neither of these teams have amazing push. You have Jakiro with this Liquid Fire, and you do have Wind Ulti. But on the other side, you know, you've got Quap Faceless, who have good right-click, and they have an Ogre behind them. It's neither team with amazing push, but neither team with awful push either. And Snapfire with that minus armor will obviously help as well. Both teams can push here. Both teams can also fight pretty well. The only thing is helmets have a bit of a longer set of cooldowns that they need to play around. Whereas Radiant's kind of just go, go, go. Even without Focus Fire, you have good fighting potential with this lineup. And they'll have to take advantage of that, because Clockwork, usually when we see a Clock 3 sort of falls off into this position 4 from the off lane. We'll have to see. Dire have one more ban left to take out a hard carry. Terrorblade, the most notable hero, still in the pool. Also, less common picks are stuff like the Juggernaut and the Lifestealer, but I don't think you want to play those heroes into a Faceless Void if you can avoid it.
5 seconds remain.
Of course, not really much option left to avoid it at this stage. Helmets now taking their final ban. And it looks like, by the way, OOOOOO is considering this to be not a mid-quap, so perhaps thinking it's like a 3 Ogre, or even maybe a 3 Quap. The Weaver ban. An unorthodox pick for OOOOO, I do believe. And actually, no, now they will ban the Centaur, so they are looking for that offlane. Weaver's a bit of an unorthodox ban. I wouldn't expect that to be the pick, but it actually is kind of a good pick this game. So, understandable for sure. Now, helmets on, with the last pick to round out their draft.
5 seconds.
I almost want to see like a Beastmaster here. That would add a lot to their draft. Alternatively, You could always pick up something like a Mars, something like an X, or even just an Underbird.
Turn to pick.
They will choose a Magnus, so an interesting decision. Honestly, it seems strange to say, but the only position that's set in stone is this Faceless Void 1. They could make changes depending on this pick. I don't know if they will, but you have the Mag mid, the Quap mid, you have an Ogre 3, a Mag 3, a Quap 3, a Snap 3. Snap 3 obviously not amazing, but I've seen it do some work sometimes. Ooh will round out their draft with a Death Prophet to give themselves some push.
The ultimate choice.
Now we'll finally start getting into the picks, but again, I actually don't even know what they play, so I won't be able to tell until we get into the lanes. But real quick, before we get into that overall game plan, Radiant seem pretty terrifying. They've got a ton of pickoff potential. But on the flip side, so did Dire. Both of these teams very content to fight. I think both teams are going to be fine in the mid game, although Helmets will have to play around this Faceless Void Chronosphere cooldown. If they can do that, though, the Faceless Void will be the powerhouse of the late game, and I don't think that Radiant will stand much of a chance if the game goes 40 to 50 minutes plus. The Quap, the Faceless, even the Magnus at that point will be too powerful, I think, for them to really deal with in that late game scenario. However, the low cooldowns, the only cooldown that is really important for Radiant is obviously that Death Prophet ultimate. But Exorcism, not really a fight condition, right? Like, it's more of a push objective condition. And you want to take fights around that ultimate, near objectives, so you can take them. But you can fight without it just fine. And they have a lot of low cooldown lockdown, a lot of cooldown stuns, none of it point target, which is the advantage of the Ogre, and to a lesser extent the Snap, which is essentially point target, with an extra step. But yeah, they both teams are capable of getting big picks. Both teams are capable of fighting at all times. Although Helmets, like I said, they'll have to do it a bit more 4v5. I don't really have an advantage for either draft since they're just so scrappy. I think it's going to come down to which team is going to take these fights better. And I don't even think it's like a snowball game necessarily. I think that it's obviously the snowball is going to factor, but even with an item advantage, either team can win fights. So with that, we're getting into the game, as it were. I need to see. It looks like it's not a Quap mid. It is going Quap to the off lane with a mid Snapfire. Alright, I give Dire double the odds I previously gave them in the late game. Snapfire late game is actually insane. So that means we are going to have an Ogre here with, I'm assuming, the 3 Magnus, the 4 Quap. So a little strange for certain. Still, just fine. Meanwhile, for the side of OOOOOOO, we have a Tusk Wind. It looks like it is going to be a Wind 3. And then we're going to have... Well, actually, no, it's a Wind 2. I'm a fool. No. Alright. It's a DP2, the Wind 3, and a Position 1 Quap? I am really uncertain about this, unless it's like a Wind 1, and they're just choosing to play aggro with it. But they don't have all 3 supports for it. I'm just trying to find out. So that's obviously a 5 Jakiro, and I guess it's a farming Clockwork? That, honestly, okay, it's very strange. And, you know, when you see something this strange, it's a bit concerning. We'll have to see how they play out with it here. I have to imagine this Clockwork is going to have a very rough time, though, into a Quap. The Quap 4, maxing out that dagger, is just going to do whatever she wants. And Clock is also going to constantly take the AoE cleave of the Empower. Meanwhile, though, in the mid lane, a Snap TP lane, I think both of these heroes are probably going to farm fine. Obviously, it's a very uncommon matchup, but That's just it. Scatter Blast. It's a tale of Scatter Blast and Crypt Swarm, baby. I think they're both going to farm. I do think with good positioning or a misplay, there might be a kill, but I don't think it's super likely we're going to see one. It would have to involve DP eating a close range scatter and then being cookied and then being scattered again, or alternatively, it would be Dr. Changstein over here eating a few too many Crypt Swarms. So I think they're both going to farm okay, just because they have really easy ways of getting those hits. I think bottom's kind of the lane to watch, and I feel like it's going to go bad for Radiant, like I said. However, saying that, Radio Foot is taking a lot of damage from this battery assault, and I think will be the first blood for Clockwork. Unfortunately, that dagger is powerful, but that dagger does not have levels. Meanwhile, in the top lane, ouch, kabibbles! Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to have a word with Dire about their names. Ouch, kabibbles, taking a lot of damage. That level 1 power shot not going to be enough to get a kill, especially after it goes through the creeps. And man, I think Faceless should have an okay lane here. I don't think it's going to be too bad. But it's going to be quiet, I think, for the most part. I think once this Quap hits level 3, like once this off lane hits level 3, it's going to be very dangerous. Obviously, I don't think Quap is going to die anymore with that blink, but it seems risky, man. Putting this clock in the safe lane, and I have to imagine you still itemize it like a pause 3, pause 4 clock. Seems like a lot of room to give a hero that I don't know how much is going to come out with this. Chang's said there's not going to be kills, but this is how they're going to happen. 1 second until the Crypt Swarm is level 2. It's a lot of damage. Changstein has to be very careful. Will get sucked. Will pop that shotgun blast, but now doesn't have mana and will fall. Zucifer gonna take quite a bit of damage himself, but also has that bottom. Meanwhile, the Quap taking a lot of damage. So is the Magnus. Still not quite hitting that power spike. They desperately need this level 3, and so far the level advantage is going over to Radiant's side here. It's honestly quite surprising. I suppose Clock is a very strong laner. Up top, though. Void. Farming okay. Just a little bit behind the wind.
I steal from the flow.
I think he's going to be okay with that. I think Dire is okay with some kills against them. I think really you have to look at this as long as we don't lose, we will eventually win. And I know that sounds dumb, and I don't mean that in a meme-y way, but it's literally the case of when this game gets later, as long as the game gets later and isn't ended before then, I think Dire have a major advantage. Coming out of the lanes a little bit weak isn't going to be a problem, as long as it's not too bad. It's going to be that trade-off. As mid, we do have a bit of a tango. The stun's there. Ooh, if the snipe gets the courier, it could be big, and indeed, Changstein will. That's going to be a little bit rough for DP, but not too bad. Now the level 3 is out. Unfortunately, the skewer back misses. The second level is there for the dagger. But unfortunately, they're having a hard time forcing out this Jakiro. He's proving to be just a little bit too powerful. And Blinky, too, is having a bit of a tough time. Will take some damage. And actually, he already used his Q. That was quite the play. Does have a salve. Meanwhile, though, look at this dive. We're looking for the bounty runes, but Snipefire is here, and this is actually probably going to be bad for Clockwork. A great pull onto the cliff here. There is a TP available, but it's not going to come out. Will successfully get back. Clock will fall. 2 stretchy arms. That is a good kill for Dire. However, you give up these bounties. It looks like it's going to be OOOOOOO getting 3. Jangstein doesn't have a lot of mana to work with at this. Does have the stick. Give him something. He really wants this range creep, and he will not get it. Meanwhile, look at this aggressiveness from Radiant. They're just going in. Stretchy arms. Caught. Under. Clockwork. He does have the skewer back, but it would get cancelled by BDC. So unfortunately, he's just not able to connect this. Jakiro is just kind of going unharassed. You need to get that dagger onto him, I think. Also, Quap elects not to get the traditional Bassi, so not a lot of mana to work with. Ouch Kibbles goes down. I'm not able to snap there quite quick enough, but I have to imagine it's just a combination of the snowball and then the ice shards, and then the tag team. Not the shackle, because shackle is not leveled. And look at this. Snapfire is forced to return to base at around the 6-minute mark. That's a disastrous course of events, as Zucifer is going to be able to pop this ultimate with a siege creep under the tower. Dr. Changstein is coming back, but this is looking pretty bad. Snapfire will ult, but the DP is actually looking to go in. Quap is here and could try and do something. In fact, will take a lot of damage, but has the haste ring, so not catchable. Is up top. You have a bit of a brawl. And even down bottom, look at this. Stretchy arms. In danger. Clockwork still has the battery assault going for 6 seconds. Will manage to get the pushback, runs into the trees. This is a very dicey situation. The lockdown is fading. He should be able to walk away, but the ice path is there. BDC catches him in another set of cogs. Stretchy arm manages to pop it, but will get pushed back as the stick. Walking away. Quap is here. No mana left on the Jakiro. And actually, they'll manage to get back and survive. Only a 1k net worth lead so far for the Radiant, so not too bad. Alright. Chase for the DD rune. Not even a deny from Changstein, and actually, this could be the death of him, as he's going to take a lot of damage. He doesn't have a cookie, he will get the Scatterblast, does a lot of damage. The cookie's available now, will have to pop it to get away, and it actually will break in time. Zucifer pops the Siphon onto the Ogre. Now though, more TPs coming in. The Quap puts on a dagger. Has to break the last Spirit Siphon available, and this is almost certainly going to be a very dead DP, as Ouch Kabibbles will bop her for the last hit. Stretchy arms. It's farming up as best as he can. Has a treads at least. His Clockwork is honestly having quite the game though. 31 CS. You compare that to Safe Laner the Void, he's actually tied. But overall, you know, that mid engagement was kind of costly for Fire. Looks like they're a bit slow to get back. Dr. Changstein now going to be able to return to the mid lane. But if a kill comes out, it would be disastrous, as he just TP'd back. Zucifer, though, has to be a bit careful. Although Dr. Changstein doesn't know that Jakiro's here, goes deep. Now, though, he's in trouble trying to walk away, but he used the cookie aggressively. There's nothing he's going to be able to do, as his tower will fall in the meantime. And with that TP, that is a disaster for him. You have to be so careful with those aggressive cookies. Now Blinky's in trouble. Manages to get the Chronosphere. Was caught once again without that Time Walk. And forced to use the Chronosphere defensively. Overall, Radiant is getting kind of everything they want out of this early game. As we head into the 10-minute mark, we'll go ahead and swap over to the net worth, and we can see all three Radiant heroes are well in the lead. And despite the relatively even last hits, 35 and 32, look at the net worth disparity. Almost 1,000. Well, I say that 600 between them. And that's very significant. And that is exactly what Radiant need in this mid game. Dr. Changstein is forced into the jungle That's 2 bracers, but not much to show for it. Going for a fast Aghanim, so it looks like after those mana boots. Stretchy Arms has level 6, so may be able to get something done. The one thing that Radiant do have going for them is most of the heroes do have their ultimates, but look at this. Ouch Kabibbles is sitting here up top, but this tower is just going to fall, and they have to fortify. They can't just let 2 tier 1s fall, essentially for free, and actually, now, Ouch Kabibbles is found out and will fall as well. And as these lanes break, what seemed like relatively even lanes have just turned into kind of a disaster. 4 helmets here, so now they have to defend this bottom tower. Stretchy Arms going in with the skewer. May look for an RP, but what's he going to do? Won't get pushed back by BDC. In fact, may be forced to look for something and will get a pretty good RP, followed up with the Scream. That's very good damage, but no DPs here. And you have to be very careful. The Siphon is already out. Meanwhile, they've killed the Quaff, and they've killed the Magnus. So that's a 3-4 in exchange for a 4-5, and probably another tower here. Let's look at this BDC going so aggressive here. Ogres in the area, but I don't think you're going to be able to do much to stop this push. They will be able to force them back a bit here. Now look at poor Faceless Void. Going for the wand, build up into a Mask of Madness at this stage. Don't believe, unless his courier died, yeah, he doesn't have the Morbid Mask. And this Aghanim seems... This is the one issue I have with Snapfire mid, is the Aghanim seems like it's kind of... I mean, I guess it's like, if you think about it, it's like a Blink Dagger. You can put it on the Magnus, you can spit him in, he can RP something. But it just feels like a bit of an overcommitment for your entire mid hero. It is a very good Aghanim with that rage, don't get me wrong. It just seems like it might be a bit too much. Let's look at this. They're trying to mount a defense on Dire. They do have heroes in the area. Ouch Kabibbles is going to get caught out. Will get gone on. Stretchy Arms is there. And actually, he'll get caught out as well. He has to be very careful. Skewers away. Dire will fortify. Faceless Void is in the area. They could look for a Chronosphere. They don't have much damage follow-up for about 10 seconds. But they look to maybe do something here. The game has sort of stalled out as both teams are just sitting their heroes in this bot lane. Go ahead. Zoom out a bit here. You're going to see Blinky. Maybe look for something here. But no. It's a bit of a stare down, which isn't what you want to see. You want this Void to be catching up. If they can catch someone, though, it might be worth it. And look at this. Lucifer is kind of being gone on the blink in. The Chronosphere is available. Will get popped. Mysticism is out. But meanwhile, on the sideline, a beautiful RP from Magnus hits onto 3. Follow up with the Scream. But the Snowball is there to prevent more damage from coming through. However, they're very weak. It looks like they will get a trade-off possibly here. No! All 3 of them will get taken down. Now it's just the win. The buyback from Jakiro. He's TPing in. But is it going to be enough? Dire starts to retreat. Stretch your arms a little bit weak. The Shackle connects onto the Faceless Void. But I believe he has a time walk. Yes, he does. Just in the nick of time on 1 HP. He will get out. Very low still, though, as now it looks like they're turning back onto the win. With a big blink, a big stun. They're going to go down. Not a blinker cookie. Excuse me, as Magoo is now looking to not die back here. All 5 of Dire heroes are here, and he will fall. And that's a beautiful fight for Radiant, for Dire. A disaster for Radiant, and exactly what they needed to get themselves back into this game. That was a 6-for-0 trade-off. It looked a little bit dicey at times, but a huge RP. An excellent chrono. It only got the DP, but it secured the DP kill. And also importantly, it put that exorcism on the cooldown. So this bottom tower is now much safer for the foreseeable future. And look at that, just like that, Snapfire has jumped up to the top of the net worth. 2,500 away from that Aghanims. And who knows how this game will go. And that's what I was saying, you know. Radiant felt so much stronger. They had such a better outcome from the lanes. They felt in a commanding position. But if you hit that big RP, you get the big chrono. You get the 3-man Scream. It don't matter. And this is the most exciting Dota to watch. You love to see games like this where either team can take it. You don't know who's going to win fights. It could go either way. As now, Blinky is starting to get himself some CS. It looks like they are going to try and go onto him, but Quap is here. Blinky will manage to get himself out, and actually, Wind has to be pretty careful here. With the Snapfire ultimate, they're going to take out the Wind. The Clockwork has no escape, and he will fall as well. They attempt to gank, but I guess they just didn't know that Dire was in the area. However, they will lose the offlane teamwork. Unless Magnus denies it, he has to be a bit careful, but he does have the skewer. In fact, does also have the RP if he elects to use it. No, he's going to skewer back. Meanwhile, though, DP taking a lot of damage. Quap is here with the slowdown. The ice path is good. The blink will come out from Blinky, and now Zucifer, it looks like he will definitely fall here. And Magoo as well, taking a lot of damage. He will fall. Another beautiful series of fights. They trade out the tower, but they get kills on the Void. And now look at this. Void has also overcome that net worth difference. He started pretty far down, now he's up there with the Snapfire. He has the Mask of Madness and 1600 gold on top. Could elect to go for that mana style if that's the way you want to go. And in addition, the Magnus. Look at this. He had a relatively poor lane, but he has the 4 points in Empower. Faceless Void has a Battle Fury. And it's just wild to see how Dire... Their situation was looking pretty rough. It looked like they were in danger, and now they feel like they're in a commanding lead. But at the same time, what we said about Dire, how they can just take a good fight and win off of them, the same goes for Radiant. We'll have to see what they plan to do here. I feel like if you're either team out of the two teams here, I feel like you are far more pressured on the side of Radiant to make a maneuver. That late game is looming above you. As now Snapfire, about 1,000 gold away from that Aghanim's. And if they can remain in the lead, the one advantage to the Aghanim's is that it is very much an excellent item to snowball harder. Let's see, Radiant grouping up. Don't have a smoke on them. It looks like Clockwork is actually going for an Orchid, a good choice into the Faceless Void, who is going for that MKB. He may elect to switch over to the Manta, and look at this, Radiant trying to wrap, trying to find the Faceless Void, but he is a hard catch now. Even if the silence comes out, the Yules is there, but he is a hard target to kill, and Radiant know it. They elect to back off. Look at this, BDC in a very aggressive position. The entirety of Dire is in the area, with the exception of Magnus, who's coming in. The silence is onto the Faceless Void with the hook. It looks good. Blinky is not going to be able to get out this time. BDC, though, will be the first to fall for the side of Radiant. As actually, look at this, Chang's stretchy arms gets a good push-up onto the Tusk, and Chang's team, he will also fall. Right now, it's a 2-trade for the side of Radiant, 2 for 1. Blinky has bought back as well. That's going to be a significant pushback on his next item. Doesn't want to actually go in with the Chrono after the loss of Changstein. And just like that, Radiant turn it around. Now they're looking like in a solid commanding position. They have the Exorcism, they have the tier 2 pushing. The Fortify does come out. But they won't be able to siege this tower down due to that Fortify. And now, poor Changstein is further away from that Aghanim's. It looks like Radio Foot is going to go for the Spirit Vessel. Definitely a solid choice, especially into that DP. Man, it looked so bad for Radiant, but they just managed to kill Blinky before he could get the time walk off. And I think that changed everything. And with that buyback too, he put himself pretty far back. Magnus is coming to give him that buff again, though. Will do so. Now it's farm mode. He's still going for that MKB, and I'm not certain if that's going to be the correct choice, in quotes, as this Clockwork will have his Orchid, and this game gets very hard for Blinky. The only thing that can kill him is the Chain CC and the Silence. As the Bounty Runes will go 2 for 2. Blinky still going for that MKB, and Snapfire with the Aghanim's will now do the same. Ogre a relatively late Midas, but honestly, I'll tell you what, Ogre's kind of one of those heroes where I never feel bad about having that Midas. Look at this. Smoke is out from the side of Radiant. Blinky is the target, but they're not going to catch him because instead, it's DP that's been caught out. They're not going to commit the Chronosphere, and now Radiant is on a good flank. It looks like they will take out Changstein, but what's going to be the cost of this as Blinky gets a beautiful two-man Chronosphere, the Scream out as well, will actually push Clock into it. Now Clock taking a lot of damage, and RP maybe not necessary, but they will use it to secure the kills, and that's going to be a very worthwhile trade for Dire. And actually, Wind has shown position here, maybe in a bit of trouble if they elect to chase. Stretchy Arms does have that Blink Dagger, but they will not find anything. And this mid tower, I think, is going to go down anyways, because Blinky, he has both Bloodlust and Cleave. And with the Siege Creep as well, indeed, that tower will stand no chance. Dire take the command of the game once again. This game is looking incredibly back and forth. If we even just look at the net worth graph, you can see it go up and down, and up and down. I'm guessing Dota Plus is similar, yep. Now that was a lot of ultimates from Dire expended, as we're going to see here. It looks like Radiant, though, not too easy. Oh, no, they are going to press the issue. Oh, no, fire. Pop that Midas, hit that creep. Alright, now it's time to smoke. You know that the cooldowns are not available. They're gonna pop it. And it won't get seen. But Dire do know, and actually, they're gonna go into the Roshan pit. A bold maneuver. Dire aren't even considering this to be an option. If they secure this Roshan, it would be an excellent pickup for them. Indeed, it looks like it will go uncontested. They scan now, but it's too late. The Roshan falls. Wind will take it. On the Wind. But, I don't know. The one thing I do have to say is obviously it's good to get it. But I don't think it's going to make a difference. It's actually, Magnus tries to get the skewer back, but it doesn't quite work out. And now I think this is a disaster for Dire. You have to try and get out. Faceless Void will go in onto the Tusk. Magnus, the first to fall. Faceless Void also has to be careful. Now gets Orchided up. Meanwhile, though, the Tusk goes in deep. The silence is fading. Blinky pops the stick. Will be able to get out. In turn, they do take out the Tusk and get the Courier, but Blinky will fall as well. Abandoned by his team. They won't find anything else here. Unless Changstein stays in and does something wild. That doesn't look like he will. Now, that wasn't a Chronosphere used. So when the Void comes back up, they will have it online. But I do think this is probably going to be a tier 2 for the side of Radiant. Actually, maybe with the Cookie push out. The Snapfire does have good push. Creep. Does a lot of damage if you're not careful. You have to delay for about 40 more seconds here. Look at this. The Jakiro's been caught out. That's a very dead Jakiro. Does cost them a Snapfire Ultimate, which is a pretty long cooldown. That will successfully defend their tier 2. So probably worth it. I have to imagine, no, Faceless Void still committing for this MKB. I mean, obviously it's a very good damage item. So it's not a bad choice, but it just feels like with the Manta, he's almost unkillable. Should know that Orchid's out as well. No. Aegis is obviously still in the hands of the Radiant, available on that Wind. Actually, look at this. I have to imagine this will be a BKB buildup for the Magnus, so that's pretty solid. And surely they have to know that there's vision here. But actually, they're not doing too much. Zucifer is here alone, almost. Wind does have a shackle, but it's not going to be enough. And meanwhile, the DP is totally caught. Will fall quickly, and RP does connect. But There's not much follow-up, as Void does get silenced, but actually, Changstein says, guess what, baby, you're going in. We push him into the creeps instead of the enemy heroes. A bit of a misplay, possibly. A shackle does connect. It's very powerful. The scream will pop the Aegis. No longer is that available. Void, meanwhile, looking for the clockwork in the sidelines. They have to be careful, though. DP bought back, coming in from the top tower. Void taking a lot of damage. The Orchid's there. The big instant burst is also there. Quap has to blink out. Will be able to escape so far. Meanwhile, though, now it's Radiant on the hunt. Zucifer looking for Changstein. It would be a very big pickup if he can acquire it. The Yules will come out. The silence as well. But Ouch Kabibbles is there to slow them down, and they will take the consolation prize instead. But Ogre's very happy with that. Manages to get his mid lane Snapfire out. Fortunately, we just lose that Faceless Void. Going for the BKB, that's a fine choice as well. After that MKB, both are perfectly good at dealing with those silences. So I'm totally happy to see that as well. And he took a lot of damage, by the way, very quickly. Not sure what it was. I think it might have been a combination of a couple of spells hitting it about the same time. But now, surely, this has to be the moment. They didn't fortify a bit early. If Dire wanted to, they could fortify to defend. But they will elect... Oh, no, they will actually do so here with the second creep wave that comes in. I don't think it's going to be quite enough to clear it. And that's actually a big stun! The Snapfire ultimate comes out as well, but there's not quite enough range, unfortunately. And Radiant will manage to get out. They'll get the tower. They'll get back. They'll probably be able to protect this tier 1 power if they so choose to. But it's kind of a bit scary, because as Changstein gets these levels, he will become a major source of damage. At level 25, Little Predator multi-shot, combined with some damage items, and the attack damage talent, which I'm sure is what he's going to pick up, he could be a real threat. This. Radiant are positioned for something here. Looks like they just want to get the D ward on the sentry and fall back. Radiant's got very good vision. This Void is going to walk into it as well. Could get gone on. Currently, he did get seen. They know he's in the area. Is he going to walk back into vision? No. Ouch Kabibbles is here. He's not a direct save, but he offers a very big stun. And actually, it looks like Ouch Kabibbles will get caught out. Will fall. But that's the sacrifice you're willing to make. As BDC elects not to use the hook shot for the Magnus. Probably a safe decision. Now going for the pipe. Meanwhile, though, in the top area, Dire's very scared right now. Perhaps that is rightly so. They're down a player currently, but they could take a fight still. Feel like perhaps at the moment they may be a little bit too afraid. Likely a call from this Void who really does want this BKB if he can get it. Look at this. Radiant have decided that these camps are off limits, and look at this vision. Vision from the Radiant. That's a Titan Sliver. That's a very good item for this Void. Gives them more damage, and importantly, gives him some desperately needed status resistance. Both teams kind of splitting up right now. The MKB is online for Changstein. No buyback, though. Radiant's in a very good position to deal some damage. Meganum's coming after DP, and also on the way for the wind. They've got some big items coming to them. Looks like Dire might be trading out a tier 1 for a tier 2 at this stage. But I think you're maybe okay with this if you're on the side of Dire. Actually, look at this. They'll smoke up. They want to look for something. Blinky may get caught out as actually a big push! A big stun from the Snapfire Aghanims. They'll take out the DP. Now this is suddenly a very good fight for the side of Dire. And look at that. The pushback into the Chronos. Some doesn't quite work. Look at the amount of damage that Void's taking, though, as he falls rather rapidly. An RP used for a Tusk. Maybe an overcommit. You do have an Ogre. But now it's up to Changsing. Changsing doesn't have the ult, or the Aghanim's ability. What's it called? Devour? Gobble up. For a few seconds. Wind looks to escape, but she went, unfortunately, for that regen ring. Now, she does have a lot of mobility and will TP out here. But it's a good fight for Dire, except for the vault. It just keeps getting obliterated in these fights, unfortunately. But soon, very soon, that's not going to be an option for Radiant anymore. Radiant's currently happy to commit to kill this Void. You know, they're happy to get what they can out of it. But soon, look at that Changstein. He has the little Shredder attack damage now. He's going for a Maelstrom. He's rapidly becoming a major threat. I have to imagine they're going to start saving for buyback on Dire, you know. It looks pretty dicey for them here. If they do lose a fight, they have to be careful. Again, they've got these cooldowns starting to come up, but still no RP, still no Chrono, and those are the two big setups for these fights. And unfortunately, Blinky is just kind of stalled out at this stage, unable to get towards that BKB. As the wind is getting built towards that Desolator, has good money for it. Don't know if she has the components on the Courier or not. That's going to be even more damage. Ogre, though. Look at the wealth that he's been able to get from this Midas, putting him well up into the net worth. But man, Magnus is poor. And this was their 3, remember, trying to get to the BKB second item here. Look at this, a smoke comes out. Still no Chronosphere, just for 10 more seconds, so they may be able to find something. And there, with that, they will be able to take out BDC for certain. And that might have been a bit unnecessary from the Quap, but she doesn't care. Now that, though, is a brilliant setup to stop the Tusk from getting away. He will snowball, but his time is limited on this mortal coil, and he will shuffle off of it. So now Dire will transition this into a push. Helmets looking pretty good here. They have a lot of ultimates still available. Obviously not the RP or anything. But they have the Chronosphere. And actually, it will get popped right away onto the Wind. Wind will fall. The TP is actually cancelled from the Jakiro. He was nearby. DP is sieging out. It looks like she does have an Exorcism, but I doubt she's going to be able to get much more out of this. Indeed, we'll begin to back off as the Faceless Void comes back. The rest of Dire actually are looking to get a catch, but they will not do so. Blinky, I believe, still, or excuse me, Ogre still thinks that the DP is in the area, but the TP was there. And now Void will have that BKB, electing not to save for buyback. It just feels so risky. But I suppose when you're winning fights like this, you kind of feel invincible. With that BKB there, he is a much harder kill. We're seeing the big problem with the Wind. If she gets caught in the Chrono, she just dies. Now, Windrun is purgeable, so it may be worth it for someone to get a Nullifier. We'll have to wait and see. Although, Void already has an MKB, so unnecessary ultimately. As does the next damage dealer, Changstein. And you know, I always feel weird about the core Snap, because it seems like it requires so much to come online. Like, a key component is this level 25. But Changstein's getting the space and time. The game's going later. And the game's feeling more and more dangerous for Radiant. As time goes on, a smoke is available, will be popped. 5 heroes. No Chronosphere, but RP's up. Surely they won't be foolish enough to walk into Roche. That seems like an extremely obvious play after the last one, but no, they will. They'll do just that. Actually, it'll take it very quickly, though. Look at that. The pings coming out from Dire. Dire, know what's up. Faceless Void doesn't have Chrono for 20 seconds. I do think they're going to be able to take it here. As Dire just moving a little bit too slow. The Aegis will fall, but Quap's in. Also gets a lot of damage. I don't know if that Aegis is going to matter. As Lucifer also taking a bunch of damage. The Exorcism comes out. The cheese is popped, but still taking a lot of damage from Alchkabibbles. Right now, though, it's a little bit dangerous. Both teams getting very low. Ogre, the first to fall in the entire engagement, but an excellent Chrono from the Faceless Void, but he's getting stunned up. Can't get onto the wind. Does manage to get her. He gets the Aegis pop. An RP will come out. Zeusfer getting exceptionally weak. Blinky, though, taking a lot of damage, is forced to jump away. Pops a time walk, but I don't think he's going to live here as he falls as well. Right now, it's a 1-for-3 trade. Almost, though, Zeusfer taking a lot of damage. He pops the Euls, won't take out to the dagger just yet. And now, it looks like the Quap might be in trouble. Manages to blink away, though. Won't fall. They do manage to get the Aegis. If they had killed the DP there, probably worth it. But right now, you're happy if you're on the side of Radiant. Now, BDC might be looking for something of his own. Bob playing very aggressively out of the base. They're buying time. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to be enough. They're going to be forced into a Void buyback, I do believe. Unless Quap maybe does a split push play here, gets back behind, and actually with that, will take a lot of damage. The Euls is there. Will be able to blink out and then get cookied even further back. Siege Creep will fall. Changstein does a lot of damage. Hookshot misses. And while I think if you're raiding, you have to look to back off. Too many heroes online to push a high ground. They'll move for the outpost. It's a good timing for it. So ultimately, Dire managed to hold. That type of buybacks just makes the situation so precarious for them. You're 37 minutes into the game. You can't afford not to have buyback at this stage. Like, maybe if you're the oh, okay. Even then, Ogre offers a lot to these team fights. Now going for the Lotus Orb. Solid pickups to prevent those targeted abilities. Faceless Void will go for the Agnums as the next item. I do think that's a very intelligent decision. And eventually he'll likely get that backtrack. Meanwhile, Sheepstick coming out for Zeusfer quite a long ways away. But that Spell Prism for both teams going to be very powerful. So let's go ahead. We won't have time to... we'll take a moment and see how this fans out. Looks like they're going to split up. Take a moment to look at the neutral. So for Radiant here, we've got a Timeless Relic. We've got a Prince's Knife that's not currently being held, the Spell Prism, and the Minotaur Horn. For the side of Dire, they've only got the unfortunate item. You never want to see the Havoc Hammer, I think. It feels real unfortunate. I guess it's not awful on Magnus. AoE just... The active just feels bad to me. And no one taking... Surely Snapfire is going to take this Spell Prism, right? I think you have to. It's not worth the Aquila. Take the Spell Prism instead, as we have a fight bringing out. Actually, oh no, Blinky misses the Chronosphere. Now Wind going on to Radiofoot. Radiofoot going to fall. No! The RP is there. Radiofoot does have a blink out, but actually gets pushed further in. As now, it's a lot of trouble. Wind sitting on the high ground, uncontested. No one dealing with her. Zeusfer, though, getting beat down by the Faceless Void. Faceless Void, though, taking a lot of damage. Gets kicked away. Goes back in, though. Now, the Wind, they're doing a lot of damage. This is very dangerous for the side of Dire. They used a lot of ultimates, and they lost 3 heroes for nothing. That's a very unfortunate Chronosphere. It's going to make this exceptionally difficult. We're certainly going to have to see some buybacks here. Radiant, actually not looking to push. This is your moment to force buybacks. But Wind is leaving. And somebody's got to take the Spell Prism, and it will actually be the Quap. So a solid choice. Somehow, despite the game going later, the team fights from Dire just aren't quite looking up enough. I mean, the Faceless Void misses the Chrono, unfortunately. Then the Magnus is forced a defensive RP, but skewers the Wind further in on top of the Quap. Quap dies anyways. Doesn't feel good, and now they have no Chrono, now they have no RP, neither ability online for long, and I don't know why I'm jumping over here when we've got to go onto the Ogre. I don't think he's gonna... Oh, he is definitely... No, the Force Staff's there, he's not gonna die. And actually, that's a very deep maneuver from this Clockwork. He's gonna probably get out, but Ouch Kabibbles is a very powerful hero. And now, it looks like they're going to go for a stun. The RP is not available, but the Skewer back is, and they will take out the Clockwork. Dire slowly losing their racks, but they'll lose 2 heroes. Only a range rack so far, as now Blinky might look to go onto the aggressive. It would be a smart decision here. Stun will come out, and a blink. The Bash is there! First hit onto Fire. He will go down. Now the Wind is on the run. They get a range racks, but it's not the biggest deal at 40 minutes into the game to just get a range Drax. And the tips come out. I mean, with a Bash like that, how can you not tip the man? They have a Chronosphere too. Suddenly, Radiant, they're the ones in trouble, because even with these buybacks, they have to be very careful. Dire going to have most abilities online. Blinky, though, has to be a little bit careful. Has to hit this Chronosphere. They actually take a lot of damage, and RP comes out! The buybacks are here. Will they be able to kill her in time? She gets lifted up. The Chronosphere isn't there yet, and actually it's looking like it might be a disaster. Blinky's taking a lot of damage, has to pop the Chrono, but he gets silenced, unable to, he will fall. Does have a buyback, meanwhile, though, on the backside. Chang Steel will take out the Tusk. Right now, it's a pretty even trade, but they're losing more and more. Magnus is going to try and get out, but it's going to be very risky. Also, Ogre on the other direction. Looks like they will lose the Magnus. The Ogre also not going to be able to walk out. It looks like this might be a 4-for-0 trade as Ouch Kabibbles gets latched up to a tree and taken out. That's a very good fight for Radiant. Obviously, you do have 2 buybacks. One of them is a dieback. But the one saving grace for the side of Dire is they didn't use too many ultimates. They still have the Chronosphere. They still have the Scream. Magnus RP obviously down. Is a bit of a long cooldown. And also, though, they do have the ultimate backup for the Snapfire. Now, I think Dire is certain to lose a lane of racks here. Question is, how are they going to take this? They do have to commit a buyback. Ogre will use his first, and Radiant might get confident and push maybe a little bit too deep. They'll take the melee racks. They'll move up top. There doesn't want a buyback, but they may be forced to here. Fortify may be in the cards for them. No, they'll let the second lane start to fall. But Radiant have to be very careful. Void's back up. If he gets a big Chronosphere here, it could be the game at this stage. And Blinky is walking up. He is looking for something. He will try and go in. BDC looks to get out, but a big pushback. That's going to be the DP cutoff for sure, but an excellent shot onto the Void. Void is going to go down immediately. He'll probably be forced to buy back here. Actually, holding it. They don't want to, but they need to. This is the important fight. As Quap falls as well, Stretchy Arms has to be very careful. The shackle doesn't last. Tries to get the pushback. Force Staff away. Radio Foot gets silenced. Unable to do anything. Faceless Void, please. You have to fight for your team here. Look at how clumped up they are. They'll lose the Quap. No buyback. They're also going to lose Ouch Kabibbles. What are you doing, Void? The game's going to end without you. They've lost 2 more heroes. Now they're in a 3v5 to hold the base. Stretchy Arms has the Blink RP, but he doesn't have the Void. The Void not buying back. Giving me flashbacks to TI. Give me flashbacks to Ana not buying back on the Spectre, trying to hold it. I know you want the money, but they're sieging your base. One tier 4 is falling. The second one rapidly going down as well. Blink, RP, this should be it, but the skewer back misses. And they call GG. They don't even fight it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a total loss for words. Faceless Void had the buyback. If he bought back instantly, hits a good chrono, maybe they turn it around. The game didn't feel over. If Faceless Void doesn't have buyback, okay, GG. But Faceless Void just held the buyback and watched as his team collapsed around him. I don't know if it was a call. Maybe they were looking for the RP skewer combo before the buyback, but I don't think you can afford to make that kind of play. I think you have to just go. You have to just buy back and commit. But they just kind of... They just kind of gave it away. And I don't mean to flame helmets, right? But you have to commit that, right? You have to take that fight. And I guess maybe they thought they couldn't win with the Void or something. I'm really not sure. It felt like a wild ending to that game. It was obviously unfortunate that the Void died right away, but you just buy back and go for a chrono play. You buy back and fight. Right? Maybe I'm crazy. It just... Anyways. I feel like, though, it's gotta be demoralizing for helmets for this game, too.